Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming to this conference. I expect you to be much more energized another time. Good morning. Good morning. Awesome. Thank you everyone for coming to the second year's Difinity 2018. We are very excited about this conference, me and Leila. We have organized this last year for the first time, and we have some of you, most of you actually been last year in the conference. We had some speakers from a lot of different places, so very excited to have it running for the second year. So first of all, welcome. You made this conference happen. Thank you, every one of you. Thank you for coming into this conference. We do a very quick introduction, and then we hand it over to our keynote speakers. Difinity last year, we had it about the same time last year, February 2017. It was about 140 people attending. That was the Power BI report from last year. This year, we have much more numbers. So 35% increase in the attendees. Really pleased with that. We have a wide range of titles attending, a lot of consultants, a lot of developers, and a lot of managers, CXO levels in the conference. And you can see the map of attendees. And some of those are speakers as well, right, coming from all different places. In this conference, we are going to cover 55 technical sessions. And these are a variety of topics: Power BI, a lot of Power BI actually, analytics topics, DBA topics, SQL Server dev, visualization, data science, all different kind of topics which I believe you are looking forward to it. Now, there are some few things about the conference that I should mention beforehand. One thing is Ask the Expert. We didn't have this last year. This is new for this year. All of our speakers will be available for just one-on-one discussion. If you want to have some discussion with them, we will have in the exhibition hall, we have a Ask the Expert area. When you go out of this, then it's just at the far left. And there is a schedule for Ask the Expert. It is already in the agenda that you got there. So you will see that what time you can talk with which speaker. Make sure that you have time to talk with them, have a network with them, and ask any questions you've got. There are a few people that we need to, a lot of people actually, that we need to thank for making this conference happen. We can't have them all in the slides, but we will go through some of them. From Microsoft New Zealand, we are very grateful that we had big help from Reagan, from Microsoft, helping us spreading word to get some really good speakers from all around the world. From Miles Matheson, who is also doing part of Keynote today, helped us spreading the word with clients, customers, and Patrick, mainly anything about the conference. He helped us a lot in running these conferences. We had a lot of help from Microsoft New Zealand. We couldn't actually put a picture of everyone here, but it was really big help. From Microsoft headquarters, from Redmond, we have 3 great speakers today, and they will be doing Keynote as well. We have Lindsay Allen, Group Program Manager. We have Siva, Principal Program Manager of Power BI team, and we have Sergey. And Siva and Sergey are also doing some technical sessions as well, and make sure that attend their technical sessions. Thank you for coming all the way from Seattle, Redmond. Some community leaders in region, we have to thank them all. They helped us spreading the word in Australia, New Zealand. Every single one of them helped us spreading the word in their community. We have to thank them all. Thank you for your help. And obviously, our speakers. We have 40 speakers this year, coming from all different parts of the world. This is the map where they are coming from. Thank you all for coming all the way to New Zealand. And if you have seen my presentation all around, you've seen that I'm doing Power BI almost everywhere, right? So I've done a Power BI of these speakers coming to New Zealand. I'll show you that in a second. OK, so this is a Power BI report of our speakers, where they are coming from. Oh, how can I switch this? Just be duplicate. Yep. OK. So this is our speaker list. You can see their pictures and the number, and the distance that they traveled all the way to New Zealand. So altogether, 250,000 kilometers they traveled to New Zealand. This is just one way. So 500,000 kilometers all the way to New Zealand. And what I've done, I've created actually different clusters for that. I've created clusters based on the distance that they've got here. We have cluster 1, which are our speakers from New Zealand, obviously. Wellington, Christchurch. Cluster 2 from Australia, or Aussie friends. Thank you all for coming here. Cluster 3 from Singapore. We have 3 speakers in this conference. Thank you for coming. If you come later in my session, I'll explain how to create these clusters. Cluster 4, we have Pinal coming from India, and Sergey, Siva, and Lindsay from Seattle. Have you ever thought that they considered as one single cluster, India and Seattle? But it is. From New Zealand point of view, it is. We have from eastern part of US, we have Jonathan. Jonathan still is in air right now that we are talking. And Edwin from Toronto, I believe, if I be right. And cluster 6, we have 7 speakers traveled all the way from different parts of Europe. Regis and Kenneth all the way from Copenhagen. We have Oscar from Iceland. Tobias and Gashia from UK, and also Satya from UK, Stephen from Belgium. Thank you all for coming. Right, so that's about our speakers. I just also show you some few things that I've done based on these clusters, how much they flew. If you are interested, I can share this link with you as well. And we have different speakers. We have 1 Microsoft certified architect attending here. Victor. Where is Victor? No, not here yet. We have 4 Microsoft certified masters here in this room. 13 or 12. 12 Microsoft speakers and 19 Microsoft MVPs in this room. So that was my presentation about that. I go back to the slides. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do. OK. Sorry. OK, that was about the speakers. Thanks, speakers. And my last slide here, thanks for all of volunteers helping us. We have a lot of volunteers. You will see them with T-shirts. A lot of volunteers helped us in this conference. And Elizabeth, if you have been in contact with her, I believe most of you have been in contact with her. She is not, unfortunately, in this conference. She is based in Christchurch. So without help of these people, we couldn't have done this conference. That's me. I just hand it over to Leila to continue this part. You want this?
Hey, I just want to thank Microsoft. They support a lot this conference, and in case of actually spreading the word, in case of having more speakers. So really thanks to them. And just make sure that you check the conference that they have. So Microsoft Azure Customer Events and Resource. That should be really awesome event. And I totally recommend that actually go to the website and check the detail there. And also thanks to Radakot, that's actually training and consulting company. So thanks to them, and also thanks to our exhibitor. So please try to make sure to see exhibitors, collect stamps. They have really nice gifts, and just stay there, talk to them. And yeah, so really thanks to them. So this is a Difinity 2 prize. So we put a small sheet on your bag. So what you need to do is just visit the exhibitor and collect the stamp. So tomorrow at 4:30, we have a prize draw, and some of prize is really nice. So make sure that you meet the sponsors, collect stamps to win a prize.
Just one thing, after collecting the stamps, you should put your name and email address, and there's a box in Ask the Expert area. Just put it there. 4:30 tomorrow is prize draw.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. And Wi-Fi is Cordis, and the password is Difinity. So just, if you have problem, just let us know. And for today, we have a networking party. Make sure that you all attend. It's a start at 6, and we will finish at 8. And we have a really big surprise tonight. So hope you enjoy.
You can tell what the surprise is.
Okay, I will tell you. That's we have some kind of the casino table. We have about 5 or 7 casino tables.
7 casino tables.
Yes, and that should be really fun.
So one thing very important, you should not spend anything at all. You will have $1 million each at the end of tonight. Not real $1 million, and $1 million that you can spend on these tables. Your real $1 million, you can keep it for buying a 2-bedroom house in Oakland, if you are lucky. In the exhibition hall.
Yeah, it's an exhibition hall. So all of the lunch area, morning tea and afternoon tea happen in the exhibition area. And also the prize draw will be in the Ask Expert. So everything happen in the exhibition area. And yeah, please evaluate the conference. We put the barcode in most of the place you can see, and this is a barcode. So please go there and put some comments for us. It's help us to have a better event for future. And about the map. So most of the sessions is actually in this. Actually, this is a 1 session room, and we have 3 in the row. But we have a map that we already put it in website, so I can show you. Thank you, Reza.
Another Power BI.
Another Power BI. So in the Difinity website, if you go there, you will see there is an interactive agenda that you can go there and actually find the sessions, the speakers, and the map of the venue. So, or you can ask our great volunteers if you have any question. Yeah, so this is a Power BI that we have. So we put all of the things there. You see the room, time, and detail of the session. And if you just go to the next page, again, for the Ask Expert schedule, you can see here. And finally, this is a map. So it's a synoptic map, panel map that you can actually go through each of them and actually see, yeah?
We are showing off Power BI here.
Yeah, thanks to Power BI, yeah. And yeah, this is our awesome speakers. You can see their profile, their sessions in the website. I also can show you the websites where you can find that. So if you just go to the Difinity website, on the Difinity website, at the top, you will see an interactive map. Okay.
It is coming.
Yeah, it's a bit slow. So yeah, you see at the
interactive
top.
Agenda.
Interactive agenda. So you will go through all of the information. So can we back to slides? Thank you. So yeah, that's about the agenda that we have. Oh, we have a very one change in the schedule. So please, because one of our speakers is because of flights a bit delay, so we have a swap. Previously, he was presenting at actually about 11:30, but we swapped the session, so just make sure you consider that one. So we actually have a swap between the 1:30 to actually 50 at the 3 p.m. So there is a swap between
11:30 and 3:15, and the reason for that is Jonathan is still flying.
Yeah, because
he
of
will
the
be
flight
landing,
delay.
I think, at 9.
Yeah.
So we moved him to a later session today.
And yeah, I want one of our speakers, one of our keynote speakers, Miles Manson, please come and yeah, please. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Or at least try this again. Ite fare kia ora! one more time, one more time. All right, okay. E te whare, kia ora. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Look, my name is Miles Matheson. I'm the Data and AI Specialist, and I just want to say a big thank you to Teresa and Leila for setting up Difinity. It's the second year, and it is bigger and better. Last year we had it at a smaller hotel, and this is just extraordinary to see so many of you here. We're also very, very lucky to have some MVPs coming and speaking, and I always like sitting and hearing their stories about their implementations and what they've been doing. And it's a great conference for all of us to come together and network in the data and AI space. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about how our businesses are being challenged and how we're evolving and changing, and particularly in the New Zealand context. And I guess probably the first thing I wanted to just really sort of cover off is really how we are all being challenged by this massive revolution around data and analytics. And I'm sure that we've talked a little bit about the context that we're in, but I wanted to just give you a bit more of a flavour for today, because when you think about the Difinity Summit, it's an opportunity for us to start understanding the impact of data and how it's changing our organisations and how we interact with our customers and our business partners. So let's just talk about that for a moment. When we think about the digital revolution that we're in right now, we really are transforming how we do business today and how we interact as a society. And I just wanted to give you some good examples of how these kind of changes have impacted society in the past. Let's think about the late 1700s. When we think about that, really at that time, steam, water, mechanical-based automated systems were really becoming prevalent in agriculture and industry. In fact, when we take it to the late 1800s, we started to see this move from very much an agricultural society, dividing our labour into, rather than living in villages, we started living in cities, we started moving our manufacturing base to being centralised rather than it being centralised around the village or around a particular area. We started seeing large automation. Now, between the late 1700s and the late 1800s, there were absolutely big changes, big massive rifts for society, huge upheaval. If you look at the writings of those times, and particularly in the 1800s, you would have seen a lot of people talking about being disenfranchised with society, how that the impact of progress or change was really impacting their place in the world. Now, when I think about us today, we're suffering that challenge as well today. When we think about what we're doing as historically, like where we come from, so where I came from writing Transact SQL. You know, today I write DAX and M, right? When I build and talk to customers, I used to do demonstrations of how to do failover clustering for SQL Server. Now I talk about how I can create a geo-redundant environment using Azure. Life is about change. And when we think about these two periods, there were huge upheavals. But it wasn't until the late 1900s where the true mass automation started to happen, where instead of having huge paper-based systems that organizations ran on, things went through a computerization process. And in that computerization process, there was a huge amount of upheaval for the labor force again. Instead of people documenting and filling forms out, these things were being automated. They were being put in and stored and being used to be able to make decisions. Now, where we are today is we're taking that data and we're using that to make predictions and recommendations. And we're now using that to tailor our customer experiences. So when someone logs into a website today, they don't log into a website and have an experience that everyone else has. They might more than likely have content that's been provisioned directly for them. And that's all being driven by our platforms, by our technology, by the things that we do with data today. And that's what's really exciting about the revolution that we're in now. And this is basically what we're terming the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Now, there's actually a book on this, and it's a very good book to read, and I thoroughly recommend that you look at this because it talks about this progressive change. Now, during the next 2 days, I recommend that when you're looking at any of the sessions, think about how you can use the things that you're learning to impact and change how your organization is competing in this new world of automation. Now, I just wanted to sort of explain a little bit more about how these things fit together. And I guess the biggest thing that we're all recognizing today is that the area that we're in is about taking large amounts of data, being able to process that, and there's only one place to do that now, with the large amounts of data that we're starting to see with technology like IoT and streaming of data from online systems. There's only one place that we were able to converge and work with that large amounts of data. And where we were able to actually provide insight and predictions analytics. And where this is one of the fastest areas of change, I believe, that we're seeing in the data platform space. You know, with SQL Server 2017, we've just released the machine learning capabilities. Now that's built on top of the stuff that we released in SQL Server 2016. And that's a huge amount of acceleration that's just happened just in the analytics space in the last 18 months. So when we think about the digital transformation and when we think about the industrial revolution that we're now facing, I want you to think of it in sort of 4 general categories for your organization. The first one is, how do we use data to better engage with our customers? How do we actually gain better insight and make sure that the customer experience is going to be the best experience for our customers? How do we actually enable our employees by, rather than just giving them a report now with a KPI saying whether they're on track or not, how we can give them database decisioning and recommendations and give them an opportunity to take action on the data rather than just looking at a report or a dashboard. How can we use data to optimize our operations? This is not about reducing costs. This is about how do we make sure we've got our products and our services in the right place in the right time. But the place that I really like to talk about digital transformation with customers is how we can use data to change the products and services that we deliver and go to market with our customers. And that's really where I think we can do a lot of great stuff as data and AI specialists in New Zealand. Now, when we think about the digital transformation, we are talking about creating a more personalized experience, both internally and externally for our customers. We're looking at using all of the technologies that we have. We're not just talking about staying on SQL Server or just staying in Power BI or just staying in Azure. We're seeing a lot of solutions, and you'll hear a lot of that today from customers and from MVPs about how all of these technologies are being brought together to help customers digitally transform. Now, I just wanted to wrap up before I hand it over to Lindsay with just some a recent study and an update from our survey team. Now, our survey team went and has done a study in 2016 and have just redone another survey in 2017. Unfortunately, I don't have the 2017 and 2018 results, but what I do have is an update on the 2016 study. Now, this was done across 1,300 organisations with over 250 employees, including New Zealand. And this survey really brought out something very interesting. The first one is that 89% of our customers across Asia Pacific want to become digital businesses. In other words, those things that I was talking about earlier around being customer obsessed, enabling employees, being able to transform and operate, be able to optimize our existing operations and transform new product services, 89% of respondents see this as their biggest strategy pillar going forward. And 79% of business leaders believe that data is the critical piece for them to be able to support that strategy. So we're even more relevant than we've ever been. And this includes New Zealand data. If you want to talk to me more about how this fits together, I will be around over the next 2 days, and we can take you through the New Zealand results in particular. But we do have some way to go. I think probably this is a little bit washed out, unfortunately, but one of the challenges that we are seeing at the moment is that there are some barriers for that transformation. And let's just talk quickly about those barriers. The first one is security. Now, I do a lot of work with New Zealand businesses, and with a lot of the projects that I work on with customers, I ask one question before we start any lines of code. And that's the first question I ask is, do you have your security advisor in the project? Do you have your security architect involved in the first project? These are our friends. They are not they're not people to be left at the end of the project. If you're doing a cloud project today, you must have security involved from day one. They're there to help you, they're there to enable, they're not there to stop you from going forward. The second thing is that when we think about security and cyber threats and so on, Microsoft is invested very heavily in supporting security standards globally and at a local level. We've done a lot of certification with the New Zealand government, and we have all of our products have been reviewed through the GCIO survey, both Azure, Power BI, and Office, and Dynamics 365. So we have clear guidance on how to deploy and manage these, manage your environments, both on premises and in the cloud with those guides. Now, the other thing that I think we need to highlight is around lack of skills. One of the things that's exciting me the most is that when we run these kind of events, we see so many professionals arriving. And I think that you'll find that through the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot more events coming from Microsoft. Well, look, I'd like to leave it there and hand over to Lindsay. I can't wait to see you all during the next 2 days. And kia moto, see you guys very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Miles. Can you hear me okay? We're going to switch the computer later, and hopefully it's all going to work out. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, I got in very late last night, and hopefully I'm up to my game. So every business is digital business. So I actually spend lots of time working with large banks, a lot of these Fortune 50, 100 companies worldwide. Even 5, 6 years ago, I was talking to these CTO, CIO for large banks, and they're saying, you know, the bank is IT company. And bank have been digital company for like a very long time, because they actually don't have these little elves in the back room moving gold bars between one account to another, right? Then really all your money in your bank are in computers. When those computers goes down, we cannot count your money anymore. The bank cannot count your money anymore. They don't count gold bars anymore. So the important thing for these modern banking and modern enterprise is modernize their IT. And their business is IT. So that's why we actually, data platform play a crucial role, right? In the modern data center transformation of this businesses worldwide. And we've been taking a cloud-first approach since SQL Server 2016 release. We started on this journey in 2013 and 2014. And we take lots of pain to move all our engineering branches into one branch. And we actually deploy everything, every single bits we do to cloud first. And in the cloud, we roll out to the to staging clusters. Then we roll out to canary clusters worldwide. By the time we cross the threshold into one of the 43 regions in production cluster, we can only roll forward at that point. So we're doing lots of tests, lots of production tests. We have actually 4.1 million databases running in Azure SQL database today. So everything's continuous, but we still have these versions, right, for the on-premise product. Because when we finish testing and we feel okay, we actually set a deadline, says, okay, stop checking to this branch, and all snaps from this point on to next version. And this point on before, it will be next major version of SQL Server. That's SQL Server 2016, 17, and next version is coming up. So at very, very high level, this is the landscape of Microsoft Data Platform. And the SQL Server, SQL technology really is at core of Microsoft Data Platform, because we existed for 28 years now, and there's in many different form and fashion as whole product, as components of product, or simply as the storage engine code get copied and branched out to other services in Azure Data Platform. So you can see the we laid it out as 4 quadrants, from relational to beyond relational or non-relational. We have this DocDB, now called Cosmos DB, and Azure Data Lake. That's where we want to provide the best service for non-relational semi-structured data storage and computation. And from on-premise to cloud, SQL Server and SQL Azure are exactly the same product, have different surface areas and different manageability. And we are bringing Azure Stack to on-premise. So this is kind of appliance. Actually, will bring the best innovation of on-premise product and Azure services together in appliance, in your private cloud settings if it's required. But the advantage is it's comprehensive and with consistent tools and experience. If you use the SQL Management Studio, Visual Studio, and all the tools are actually exactly the same. You can actually connect from the same place to on-premise database and to cloud database. And you can manage it through the same place, OMS, Operational Management Studio services across hybrid environment as well. So SQL Server spent a lot of time in the 28 years evolved to actually adapt to the market, right? If we adapt, and we'll be relevant. So we've been actually focused on Windows. We built a SQL Server OS layer, right? To since SQL Server 7 to actually optimize for Windows. And that's actually gave us the advantage to actually port to different OS. And in the past several years, and Linux have become very dominant in the world and in the enterprise world as well. And even we see there's an enterprise database, actually 36% are running on Linux. So we started this project way back in actually SQL Server 2014 time. We've been doing prototype, and we said, oh, may not be time, let's wait. So finally, and we released SQL Server on Linux for SQL Server 2017. And we have a road show actually happening in Auckland as well, I think start tomorrow. So you can see more details of SQL Server on Linux. So if any of you coming tomorrow, please, we'll show more demos and more details SQL Server on Linux. Have you heard about SQL Server running on Linux in 2017? Yeah? Any of you going to use it? No? Okay. Have any of you used the SQL Server 2017 altogether, regardless which version? Yes? A few? So most of you using what, SQL 2008? Okay. So I'll do a survey later. Now I'm curious which version of SQL you're using. So as you can see, right, we want to give you more choices. So the same great engine, actually we ranked #1. I think I have a slides later. And you can run in on-premise, in your VMs, in your VMware VM, in Hyper-V VMs, in what other VMs you prefer, and all the way to fully managed PaaS service, and including data warehouse as well. So it's all about continuous integration. We got lots of customer feedback, and we get feedback from communities like yourself, and we work really hard to prioritize to get those input built into the product. So we added tons of new features with the SQL Server 2017 release and monthly release to Azure, right? And now the always-on group can cross Windows and Linux. So because first we thought, okay, there's Linux, who would want a SQL cluster across different OS? And apparently that was a top ask. And lots of customers want to have their SQL cluster across different OS. So we made that top priority. We released the AG distributed availability group across Windows and Linux. And a couple of things I like to call out. I don't know if you know, we added tons of intelligence, tons of security features. So one of the major innovations we've been working on past few years to actually add AI intelligence into Query Optimizer. I know it's a little bit oxymoron because optimizer is supposed to be intelligent already. It's the process. It's the process of how optimizer optimizing a query plan. So we based on statistics, right? Same as all machine learning, based on some sort of statistic data input, right? To generate a plan or a prediction or scoring modeling. And what we do before is we take statistics, we optimize, then we generate the plan. It's kind of a sequential process, right? And sometimes when that plan, the statistic is not correct, one of the obvious scenario is if you have very complex query and have intermediate results. Intermediate results are actually very big, and we don't have stats on intermediate results at the beginning of the query optimization, right? So in those cases, there are high chances things will go wrong. So what we did, we added active learning into query optimization process. Machine learning AI is about the machine learn, right? Machine learn from the environment, from adapting to what's happening around itself, I guess. So we actually, the optimizer will actually learn from the query execution steps to reduce optimization. So we call it interleaved or intelligent optimization. So now if your query initially runs not so good, we actually know without your intervention, we will stop it. We will start optimization again and to continue execution. So you should, in very rare cases, you should see this long-running query doesn't end anymore, right? Because we'll know it's wrong. We'll change query types, join types, and we'll change memory grants, and we'll change whatever needed to adapt to the intermediate results for your queries. And another big thing, we added approximate query processing. Because in the big data world, right, especially in analytics, and I think later you'll see these in Power BI, right? The size of data operation is getting more and more expensive. It's unnecessary in lots of cases. Like select distinct, if you want completely accurate for like a couple billion rows, probably is no big deal, right? The SQL can scan a couple billion rows in like no time. But if you're talking about trillions rows, the largest table I see like 3.5 trillion rows, it takes a while to select distinct on those ones, right? And for this machine learning, you actually don't need 100% accurate because machine learning is about statistics, right? So we actually introduce approximate query processing. In SQL Server vNext, I guess, it's in Azure, it's not in the build yet, in the, I think in CTP2 we're gonna release. So first we added syntax called select approximate count distinct. So this will happen instantaneously because it's based on algorithms based on the sys indexes, and you get result back right away. It's not 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough for whatever you want to do for machine learning especially. And we're adding more and more of the approximate query processing. What else? Oh, we announced the Databricks, right? We actually Spark, you know, everybody likes Spark these days. It become the most popular big data service. And we announced the Databricks as first-party service. We'll have connector to SQL Azure and to Data Warehouse and to all the other data services we have. Then we have built-in native machine learning algorithms. And so this is the latest 2017 Magic Quadrant. So 3 years in a row, and Gartner have placed us #1 in the relational database world. And the first time we got this is in 2015, and we were cheering opening champagnes in Redmond. This is 30 years. Seems just in an email. I didn't see a party, but we're very happy. We're 3 years in a row, and we spent at least a full day every quarter with Gartner analysts to gather advice, gather input, and they're very critical. So we're actually adjusting our strategy accordingly. So we are #1. You see, Oracle is further and further behind because they can't catch up in the cloud. They're working pretty hard hiring away or try to hire our staff. So let me talk about the cloud a bit, right? We got tons of new features and in our engine, right? And then cloud is the future, and that's also what Gartner's quote is. By 2020, you heard about all the security concerns now, right? They don't want your critical workload to be in Azure because of security, compliance, what have you. And back in the 80s, I think the early 90s, lots of corporations doesn't like internet. It was a similar thing. Remember, you get a special permission to have internet access. And so Gartner says by 2020, corporate no cloud policy will be as scarce as no internet policy are today, right? So now everybody have internet. And most companies want to change fast, to grow fast, because the world is changing so fast. Even you see the programming language, its new language comes up every month. You never know, right? Because all the startup innovation speed are so fast. So speed and real time is the thing. So in order to increase agility, productivity, cloud is way to go, because you're starting to build a data center, going to take time, right? It's just a law of physics. You're starting to digging a foundation to build a building, it's just going to take a very long time. So cloud is where going to accelerate your growth and save money, because when you start actually building data centers, all the upfront investment will lock down your capital for quite a few years before you can get your return, right? So that's why cloud is convenience and it's really helping the business growth. We're in very unique position, in terms of Microsoft, right? We have truly seamless hybrid cloud and from on-prem to cloud data platform, because it is same engine, actually same guy writing the code, by the way. There's no different people, right? So it's kind of stretch as well, because if there's any incident, it's always go to the same guys. It's a SQL Server or it's in the Azure. So we keep trying to expanding. And we have very wide spectrum of scenarios supported. A few actually is not coded out a lot. That's why I listed up there, right? You know, we use these GeoActive GeoDR to scale out databases. We do the cascading replication. So this is actually very, very good scenario for your edge case. For like a CDN, right? That's a content delivery network. Generally deliver your content pages to the edges of your network. And but when those pages are static, it's not very interesting. And if you replicate your database to the edges as well, then this edge network on your site become active. And one of the case study we have are Stack Overflow. Are you aware of a Stack Overflow? It's one of the most popular developer forum, right? They actually expanded to Australia and New Zealand, right? The challenge for them is if they just use regular CDN to replicate their pages, the forum is not active. So they need the data to go with their edge, right? To edge websites. So they're using always on to replicate our data to near Australia. So then the developers in Australia and New Zealand can have good experience. And also we have the we support occasional connected scenario through Azure Data Sync. We're going to GA at this time. I know it's like a running whatever joke says, being in public preview for 4 years or 5 years, right? We re-implemented this, re-platformed it on the Azure SQL database. And in public preview yet again, but different code. And we're going to GA in the spring. In March or April, we're going to GA this one. And of course, we added more features, managed instance, I'm going to talk about more. And we're going to change the database model, business model. We're going to introduce Azure Hybrid Benefit. So then there's a between VMs and PaaS, right? Between when you move a database to cloud, sometimes there are too many options. There's structured, unstructured, and in structured, there's running your database in just IaaS VM, and or just run your database in complete the PaaS environment, fully managed, right? So here's what PaaS can do for you. And it's like all innovations and the new technology, generally people like the new technology looks similar to the old technology, right? You feel more comfortable. But the cloud being around for quite a few years now. And so most analysts and the CIO trend analysts believe the cloud 2.0 fully PaaS environment going to take off in year 2018. So people are going to start to abandon the old ways. Just in the cloud is not running your VM in somebody else's data center, right? It should be actually a transformation. So what a PaaS does, specifically for our version of PaaS, right? Azure SQL database. We take care of all the chores, the database chores. There's lots of database chores to keep the lights on, right? In the backup restore, and hope your backup is good. And if your backup is not there, and it's not me, right? And the hardware, when your hardware go bad, like after 3 years, or just actually had some failure, right? Hardware failure. You have to take care of moving your database to that new hardware. This is an ongoing problem you have to deal with, right? Of course, there's this wonderful Patch Tuesday, and things need to get patched, and because the viruses, all the bad guys keep trying to steal your data. Lots of these chores is actually just simply keep lights on. And we can do all this in the PaaS managed database services, so you don't have to worry about the chores. You can actually focus on your business and develop your next best data application. I'm going to show you how that actually works. The reason there's it's a pun to call autopilot actually. Your database on autopilot. One thing, the reason I code autopilot is we actually have this fabric running all our Azure services to start code autopilot. So now it's like a new version of autopilot, right? And then Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, and came out last year, announced the autonomous database. Then we looked at what is autonomous database, right? You look at all the features they listed in the future they haven't released. We already have them running in SQL Azure database for quite a while now. So really, Azure SQL database is put your database on autopilot. Let me show you. I need to switch over. Oh, hold on. Okay. I hope this doesn't crash anything. Sorry, don't mind. Go sit down for a minute. Sorry, I think I need to log in before I switch over. Okay. Oh, it's resolution. It should still work. How do I extend that because it's my stuff, my okay. Bear with me for a second. I'm having to take in questions. If you have any questions, when I set this up, it's coming out momentarily. Just need logging Azure. I thought I had it logged in, and it went away. Oh, now I'm going to have a hard time to see it. I move this. I think I should I will go back because I can't see you. I'm going to have a hard time demo. Okay, still okay, right? Yeah, okay. This way at least I'll see what you can see. All right, the resolution is not very good. So this is if you go to log into Azure SQL database portal and you create a database, right? And in your account, you have lots of options on the left side. I just want to show you this is per database. You will see all of this, right? This is a basic overview. And then you see the sections here. And you can choose price and geo replication. And this literally click by click on a different region, you simply can create replicas, as many as you would like. And really the default is 4, but you can do cascading. And then there's, I think I have this open one here. So there's something we call advanced threat detection. So we're actually actively monitoring your database access patterns. But you need to turn on, of course, right? When you turn on, and you can turn on per server, it's based on pattern matching machine learning algorithms to monitoring the internet chatter and the typical access scenarios. And if we believe 2 things, if there's we think a SQL injection attack, and we do 2 things. If things are too obvious, we know it's bad, we block it. And things look suspicious, we send you an alert. And also there's other alert on access connections. If most of your database connections come from a range of IP, right? And if that same user and being logged in from range IP suddenly changed, it's not in defined range of IP, and the person still can log in, right? You'll get alert. We actually have customer had one of their DBAs got fired, and the guy went home and logged in because his credentials still valid, and copied all the database out. They caught him. So you'll get these kind of alert, and if you drill down, you will actually see the detailed alerts by statement. And then we have vulnerability assessment. It's actually become very critical for the compliance, especially GDPR. Is GDPR affecting you guys here? No? This is general data protection regulation from EU. They threaten very large sum of fine if they catch a corporation not in compliance. And then I said we had lots of intelligent feature built in, right? One thing is lots of features on SQL Server in the engine, on Query Optimizer. And then we have the outer loop to optimizing. For example, we know we have query store, right? Now you can force a plan. If like the old plan is good, the new plan is not good, you can stick with the old plan, especially in upgrade scenario. For 2012, upgrade to 2017, you want to stick with your 2012 plan. And we can do all this automatically. And in Azure, it actually does it better because we actually have more statistics on all these 4 million databases running in terms of how the access patterns are. So the query optimization is smarter, right? And you can choose a force plan on and off as default. We can do this automatically for you as default. And for all these recommendations, if you look at, sorry, it took a minute to load. If you look at the pane where you can see, we call the slice, you can see your database, all the query performance, and based on sorted by CPU data I/O, because we're still doing DTU. And so in a couple of months, we're going to offer core and storage based, so you don't have the parse DTU anymore. And it's going to show you the resource consumption, and based on the each time divided by the CPU usage, and for different queries, it shows the top 5 right now. And you can also, just similar to the query store, right? You can pick, you don't want to actually see by CPU consumption what have you I/O consumption. You want to check which query is like a long running, right? and or you can do custom. I think you'll find this is very familiar if you're a database guy, and you can choose by CPU, by I/O, or by the duration execution count. Is completely up to you, and you can say I don't want to look at for last 24 hours. I want to see last 6 hours and the top 10 queries, and it will just go back to our massive amount of logs, and to actually pull those data back for you. You see different view, and all of these you can further drill down to very granular level. We literally collect 7 terabytes of logs every day, right? So this query with query ID 10,000, 102869 seems to use lots of CPU and running for many times with over 1,000 count, right? You can just double click. It will get to that query ID with actually query text. And you see all the drill down detail of every execution and how long it's been running, right? And all these can be done automatically for you. And if you don't want to, so I just want to show you these recommendations. So if you don't want to bother, don't want to look at this, right? This all going to just happen automatically. But you can always go into, maybe like you go on vacation for a week, you turn it on automatically. And a week later, you want to see what did Azure database do for you in terms of automation, right, on performance tuning. You can actually go just to look at the history. You will see these still have 3. High impact will show you which recommendation, high impact, low impact in terms of performance. And these ones are already run successfully. There's 2 in the middle of being executed. And the execution, the reason it takes time, we know the recommendation. We're starting actually going to deploy the recommendation. Then we continuously to monitor. If we notice the performance actually got worse because recommendation or actually take too much space, that index or something, index creation takes more time, we'll stop, we'll roll back. We're constantly doing this A/B testing at a fairly granular level. And now if you say, well, it's good per database, right? But I have hundreds of databases, thousands of databases. And here what you can do is we have complete integration with OMS, and you can use OMS, or you can use your favorite tool, because all the logs goes into the Event Hub. And also you can actually take it from Event Hub to any of your favorite tools, right? They just event log. And also we have the management pack for on-prem as well. So you can actually take the events for SQL management pack. It works for Azure as well to integrate with your on-prem management tool, for example, Adira or SQL Sentry. It all works fine. So if you look at the all estate, right, this will show in the subscription, you have permission. It'll group all the databases together. These have thousands of databases in here. And then you can look at the insight, for example, query duration, right? That's what you're interested. And you can do similar level of drill down, what you see on per database level. And here you can look at a glance, right? Different servers and different servers have, these are virtual servers. Elastic pools, singleton databases, all of them, right? In terms of the query running duration. And this is aggregated queries running, which one sorted by the top execution count or the maximum execution time durations. And you can further go down you can drill down, and you can actually sliding window to pick only the period of time is interesting to you, right? And the duration which size for this particular query, because it's showed up on top, right? And also have another feature is super useful, is can automatically generate root cause analysis report. It may not be as detailed as you want, but give you a great starting point. Think about your boss is suddenly questioning last week, Tuesday at 6 p.m., some query runs slow, right? You can get something automatically without spending too much energy. And this way you get answer to your boss, and if it's further more important to dig further into what's happened, and you get more time, go look into it. All telemetry is at your hand. at your fingertips. So just there's lots of telemetry if you're the data person, and you can go to town with this. We have lots of it. So let me switch back. I'm running out of time for you. I have a couple of announcements. I'll be really quick. And hopefully this time, 10 minutes? How much time we have left? Oh, we have 30 minutes? Okay, I use 10 more minutes, then it's yours. Okay. Come on. Why is this blank? Oh, I don't know why that is blank. Okay. So all these performance optimization and optimization itself actually have a hidden benefit I want to call out is actually save a lot of cost for you to run your database. Think about it, if your scope per database, per application is operating system and VM level, and you don't have enough granularity to actually share resources across different applications because the boundary is that box. And your developer wants to protect their application, it will be in that VM, and the VM need to be significant size. So if you look across even through all the 10, 15 years of database consolidation, most of your CPUs are not utilized across all the times, right? When you actually put in paths, we actually see everything all together. We can help you utilize your resources better. And the elasticity of it, the update slow, and the upsizing and downsize is elastic and without actually impacting your application. So this way you can actually save lots of budget. So this is one of the company, GEP, they're logistic SaaS SV. And when they moved everything to Azure SQL database and saved them lots of budget and saved lots of time, speed, right? Saved, for them, I think saved about a year, saved about $250,000. But something even more drastic, I want to use our IT as example. We have lots of SQL databases. Some IT guys told me they have 15,000, some said 22,000. Anyway, there's 15,000 we know of, but probably altogether 22,000 databases, 40,000 databases. Just lots of them, right? And when Steve Ballmer, still our CEO, and told IT, and you guys have to go to Azure, everything go to Azure because we're all in the cloud. So they looked at how to move to Azure, and the least path of resistance is move to VMs. So there's a big initiative that started to install express routes. We have today 220, 250 express routes from our on-prem data center to Azure, and extending Redmond domain to Azure all over the world, and which is great. It's very convenient. Then also enabled all the business IT. We have a corporate IT for same as a lot of large company. We have corporate IT, then we have business IT, right? Then all the different IT, different application developers starting creating VMs all over the world, right? We have lots of data centers in Azure to host their application to be closer to their user. And then after 2-3 years, they realize the bill is pretty high. We do charge back, right? And when you get the dev to create VMs, they generally create the largest VM they can get away with, right? If they create the largest one, might jump out, so they create the medium-sized ones. But they all add up, right? So even we run the scripts for this 40,000 databases, almost 43% can move to Azure SQL database as PaaS service. But in reality, majority of them still in VMs. Even for the small portion moved to SQL database, they see tons of benefit. So there's a major push. They want to work with us to help them move. Majority of this, it's not only 10%. You see, the only 10% of 40,000 databases in PaaS service right now. Majority of them are not in VMs. Everything is in VMs anyway, so they're all in VMs. So they want to move more of them in Azure SQL database. So they use lots of the automatic index tuning, automatic performance tuning, schema correction, everything, right? And automatic plan regression correction. And also, we have cost optimization APIs. So IT took the initiative, create a dashboard, code the cost optimization for the whole IT landscape, whatever is running. Of course, they only can see the 5,000 databases in Azure PaaS, right? In the VM, we can't really do this kind of optimization. 5,000 databases. We made a lot of recommendations because we realized most of them are actually all oversized, right? It doesn't really need it to be. And so they downsize about 4,000 of them. Actually, there's a few hundred end up upsize. There's a few actually is too small, end up upsizing. And overall, they saved about $3.7 million in 16 months. So they saw the benefit of it, right? So now there's a major push. So, no, let's move to Azure PaaS for database services, because there's a significant savings when you have such a huge number of databases and applications running. Yeah, I constantly get the customer comes to me saying, you know, oh, I have 10,000 cores and there's a 15,000 cores just for one department. And think about 15,000 cores and it's optimized. How much budget that will save you, right? Because I'm sure you don't need 50,000 and 15,000 cores. Probably 5,000 is enough or up. And trusted cloud, I know security is a big thing for any serious enterprise application to move to Azure. So we're very serious about our compliance certifications. We have the most cloud compliance certification all over the world with all government. And my team is responsible for all Azure data compliance certification. I have two full-time compliance PM just dealing with auditors, because all these certifications need to be updated at the minimum 6 months, and they all in different cadence, right? We keep auditors coming all over the place all the time, so we automate lots of these auditing process. And so we said we're most secure database because we start from the secure development lifecycle, right? All the code review have to go through security review. And then we have identity management access. We integrate with Azure AD, and we have multi-factor authentication. And the threat detection I showed you integrated with Azure Security Data Center. We're the first one to release the threat detection, right, for database management. And our friends over the other side of Seattle, AWS, saw customers starting to move to Azure because threat detection. They went and bought a company called Macy. They did it pretty fast. They bought Macy and they launched the service within 3 months. But still, because it's not native integrated, so it's not evolving as fast, right? We build on top of SQL engine, and I have a team for SQL Server in Israel, actually focused on SQL Server security. And we know it's super important. It's actually a pretty big size team over in Haifa. And our native server auditing is supported, engines auditing is supported in SQL database. And the audit log goes to your storage account, and your auditor can see it, and we don't have to see those audit logs, and to follow the same rules. And within the engine, we have a row-level security, dynamic data masking. We're introducing data labeling. This is all for compliance, and the static data masking as well. And we're the first one have released homomorphic encryption called Always Encrypted. And so the data will stay encrypted. And we're in the process releasing second version. And TDE, transparent data encryption, and the SSL. SSL is required to connect. So with G8, the service endpoint, because that's one thing everybody's, all our customer asking for their business application is they don't like the shared access through simple firewall rule thing, right? They want to be able to guard access to their database to certain private VNet access. So this we call the service endpoint. So basically only traffic from predefined set of VNet can access your database. And it took a very long time because we have to build on top of the PaaS cloud services network. It's not a VM, right? And so finally we G8 this week. It's a big ask. So furthermore, we have a customer just want to say, I don't want to share anything. I want to isolate everything because has to meet all my rules in on-prem data center to run my SQL server. Otherwise, it's staying in VM. It's not going to pass service. So we actually introducing this new service called a SQL Database Managed Instance. We call it Managed Instance. So we're going to expose the PaaS service at the instance level, at the SQL instance level. And because it's instance level, we decided to put the whole instance on an isolated VM, isolated node for you. And on that only the tenant ring is created for your instance. So you can see this tenant ring can have one instance or can have 500 instances, but it only belong to one customer. And because we create this kind of isolation, this can be injected into your own subnet. And the subnet can be Azure VNet, right? So there's a multiple level of isolation here. And because this is native VNet, Azure VNet, and you can actually connect to your on-prem through regular VPN or VPN over express route. And in this deployment, there's no public endpoint. There's no internet endpoint to your instance. You manage the instance. I wish I had a better name, tongue twister. So in this new service, there is no internet public endpoint. So for your security and the compliance, because we've gone through this with quite a few very big banks, right? And we checked all the checkboxes of security compliance because it's isolated both at the most low-level infrastructure level and the network access. There's no public endpoint. And your connection to the application, you can deploy application in the same VNet if you choose, or you can use VNet to VNet peering, the Azure VNet to VNet peering, because this is just Azure VNet. And we are actually in vulnerability assessment. As said earlier, we get audited all the time, and we believe our customer probably in the same state if you want to keep your compliance certification, right, with government. So we create this automated scanning tool. We call it vulnerability assessment. This available for Azure, also available for SQL Server. And if your auditors come, you ask them for whatever the rules are for their control point, for the compliance control point. You just hit the button and it's going to scan everything, right? Or you just keep all the policies there. We're going to scan everything and you just go see the report. These are not static reports. It's similar to the report I show you on the portal. You can click on each line item to drill down. And also we have recommendation how to fix it if it's actually did not meet compliance, right? This applies for not only compliance, it's apply for your security best practices as well, if your corporate have some policy. So I think this is the last one I'm going to mention. So secure enclave. So the security become a big issues, right, for this digital transformation age. And there's two contradicting requirements. One is security. Security by design, you need to lock everything down. You need to control everything. But then also this big data, everybody want to see everything for machine learning, for AI, want to see all sorts of data. Everybody wants to see all the data, right? So data governance become a real problem, real time, and security become problem. So we have this new initiative called Confidential Computing with Azure, and in partnership with Intel. Intel have the new chip. It's started with on this notebook, TPM chips enable you to do BitLocker, right? But that's actually on client side, single-threaded. And so the new SGX chips is for the server side and enable concurrent sessions and concurrent multi-thread computing for a single session as well. And this called secure enclave. And in order to leverage secure enclave, we actually have to write software to use it, right? Because this is at CPU level. And what advantage of this is the first release of always encrypted, because we don't have hardware assistance, right? What we did is we limited the way of you do encryption to actually do deterministic encryption, because if you're doing random encryption, it's going to be really hard for us to do computation. So we set it to deterministic encryption and equality only queries. So that's the first release. And that's not actually the biggest challenge. That's actually very useful. We have lots of banking customer uses it. And the challenge is key rotation. And because by design, server doesn't see anything. Server doesn't have keys. Server only have the encrypted data. And by compliance policy, most of the key need to be rotated about every 6 months. The secret, the certs, 6 months or a year or 3 months, depends on how sensitive your security policy is, right? And the key rotation have to pull all the data through client. Even we have tools wizard, but under the cover, the data need to pull out of server and decrypted, re-encrypted, and bulk inserted back. We have the wizard to do this through one click, but still take time, right? It's a size of data operation. And it makes it really difficult to actually encrypt more columns, and more difficult if you have trillions of rows. It's going to take a very long time to rotate that key. And trust me, we rotating key in cloud all the time. Generally, when we have SEV 0 or SEV 1, is some key rotation stuck somewhere. So always have rotating keys. So confidential computing, working with a secure enclave, is on the CPU level, is actually create a secure enclave which is attested. It's only assigned to that user session. And so in that secure enclave, only the authenticated attested user can actually do computation in there. And so in this secure enclave, you can actually secure data in there, or you can secure binaries, right? I know this actually opens a whole new scenario for data privacy, and especially in AI world. And the company can actually guarantee there's certain data without certain binaries with no additional payload, or actually get it verified, it can run in secure enclave to look at your data in only certain ways, right? So since we have security enclave, the key rotation doesn't need to happen on the client anymore. And in the secure enclave, the computation is happening decrypted, because only the user session, attested user session, can have access. So the whole attestation is another very complex algorithm. So on-prem, you can use your own attestation service. In Azure, Azure are going to release our own attestation service to actually make sure the user session to the secure enclave is attested correctly. And so this is in private preview right now. And you certainly can use it with your on-prem servers. And I know there's a number of vendors like HP, Dell, they're shipping the servers with these SGX chips in there. And if you have those, you can run them in your data center. In Azure, we have them in VMs right now, not quite in PaaS service yet, but it is in SQL Server. If I have time later, happy to show you, but I think this is the last one. I better hand it over to Shiva for Power BI. Analysis at the speed of thought is all about fast and real time. Thank you.
Can people hear me? All right, perfect. Yeah, so you initially heard from Miles in terms of the digital transformation, and what you heard from Lindsay in terms of what we are doing in terms of the overall data platform, SQL Server, what are the enhancements which are there, making things easier for the DBA, looking at all the fine tuning, and also the case study in terms of Microsoft as such going through the digital transformation and optimizing it, and encourage you to go through all of the various features and how it can bring benefits overall for you. Okay. So with this, I'm going to have only a few slides on Power BI. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you are using Power BI right now? Okay. So leave your hands. Leave your hands. How many of you are using Power BI? How many of you have been using since last year? Since 2016? Okay. Now, since 2015? Okay. less number of you folks. Okay. So we started this journey in terms of Power BI since 2014. That's when we initially started. It was completely born in the cloud in terms of the technology overall. So it was very, very hard initially in terms of making sure we are shipping features directly on the cloud. We started this around September of 2014. The first public preview was available in 2014 December. And then you had the public preview, which was launched overall, and then we went into GA. Okay. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. Okay. So in terms of BI, the age of AI. So in terms of Power BI, how it's helping overall here. So here we think of making BI available for entirely all the users in your organization, so that they should be able to look at the data and then being able to make appropriate, get insights and make appropriate business decisions. So here in this particular age, in terms of the new revolution, we think of BI as part of the IT people, in terms of people in the IT department, data scientists, analysts, and then business users. So this covers a full spectrum of people in your organization, where people have access to the data and they're able to go and leverage it and make appropriate business decisions anywhere from the top level CEO to all the employees within your organization overall. Okay. So initially, in terms of evangelizing BI for entire set of users, I joined the team in 2002 in the analysis services team initially. And the key thing was, how can you make sure BI for entire all set of users? And initially, it was IT professionals who were actually building all of the reports and sharing this, right? There's a core set of IT professionals who are actually capable of building SSRS reports and being able to share these reports, talking about in the early stages in terms of end of 1990s and early 2000. That's when we had IT professionals sharing to the consumers who are having the reports. Then we had the self-service BI towards closer to 2008, 2009, where we initially started with Power Pivot journey, learning from a lot of the customers, having the IT department preparing all of these reports. That was creating a bottleneck in terms of who had the capability of preparing all of these reports and sharing it. But the business users are looking for various types of reports, and how can you make this enable this? So we had the analysts who are preparing the reports in terms of preparing and these reports in Excel with Power Pivot overall, and being able to share it to all of the consumers directly in Power Pivot for SharePoint, and then leveraging Power View as a technology as well they were sharing. And then now, in terms of the current age, in terms of the data culture, Power BI helps you to enable in terms of the IT professionals as well as the analysts, also directly the end users. They can directly go to the service, go and sign up, log in using their credential to any of the SaaS services. They get pre-built dashboards and reports overall in Power BI. So this is just giving you a quick overview of, you have data everywhere in the cloud or on-prem. Power BI, with Power BI, you have a wide variety of features. You will be seeing about a lot of these features in the various sessions. So I'm not going to cover talk about all of these features, but end users can consume a variety of options in terms of directly from the web or mobile, or you can embed this in any of your applications overall. Now, we've been shipping features in the service as and when the features are ready. We've been shipping features directly on the service, and the Power BI desktop ships every month. And then this is one of the things where people keep watching during the first week of the month. It used to be during the last week, and then we switched over to the first week of the month. People are watching in terms of when is the Power BI desktop being available. So one of the persons from my team, Chuck, he maintains a report of all the features that are getting shipped. So since the initial start, we've shipped more than 1,000 features directly in Power BI. All of these features are completely based on what customers are asking for. So if a customer comes and asks, is this feature available? I request them, go to ideas.powerbi.com, go and look for the feature there. And if it's not there, go and vote on the features. The team takes care of looking at these ideas periodically, and then go through a planning cycle and make sure that each and every feature which adds value to the customer, they're delivering this as quickly as possible. Okay? And this is about the Gartner Magic Quadrant, similar to the data platform. In terms of the Gartner Magic Quadrant, in terms of, you can see where Microsoft is positioned overall. This is 10 years in a row in terms of the data analytics, in terms of the area. Microsoft position as the leaders quadrant overall, and a lot of it is attributed to Power BI. And overall, it's not just about Power BI, but also the vision in terms of taking together in terms of Power BI along with the ecosystem overall, with Azure Machine Learning, Excel, overall, so that's overall spectrum, and how do you integrate all of this to create your BI reports and making use of it. So that's where Gartner has positioned Microsoft in the leaders quadrant here. And this is a quick view of various customers. There are various customers over the last several years who have been adopting Power BI. By industry, these are just public references which we have in terms of the list of customers by various industries who are leveraging Power BI. There are a lot more customers who are actually using it. This is just giving you a quick example of public references where we have in terms of the customers. Okay. So there is a demo slide. So I'm going to have 2 demos overall. I'm probably going to cut this short to only 1 demo, just in terms of time. Now I want to have a couple of quick questions. So how many of you have kids who are born in New Zealand? Okay, there's quite a lot of people. How did you go about choosing your names for the kids? Anyone? Sorry? Family names. Okay. Anyone else? Books. Okay. Anything else? Grandparents chose their names. Okay. Anything else? Sorry? From websites? Great. Yeah, so I was looking at like what demo should I do in terms of in the keynote, and obviously there are a lot of features there and a lot of Power BI talks. I said like a lot of them are going to show Power BI features. I'm not planning on showing anything specific in terms of Power BI. So when I have twins, so when we actually had to go through in terms of how do I name our kids, I have a boy and a girl, so my wife went and bought several books as well, and also researching on the website and also talking to the relatives, all the things. So I was just curious in terms of in New Zealand, how are baby names getting chosen. So there is actually New Zealand government has published all the baby names since 1900, which have been popular overall. So I actually downloaded this data set last night and just threw it into Power BI overall, right? So this is from since 1900. This is a public data set available on, I think it's data.govt.nz. That's where you have the public data sets. So this is just giving you a quick overview since 1900, how many of the unique boy names and then girl names as well. So you can, on the top, you see the unique number of boy names, which are like 1133. And then here you see there are more unique girl names here. Now here you can actually go and see what are the various names which are essentially more popular. So for example, if I look at, you can see the trend in terms of total number of boys and girls in terms of the color coded as blue and pink. I just did this. And then I can go and look at in terms of this particular name in terms of how popular it is or how easy or popular. I'm going to just sit down and walk through this. So for example, John as a baby name, it's been more popular during in the 1947s, and then it's trailed down. So if I look at David, for example, it's picking up here at 60s and then coming down. And then you can actually go through each of these and how many of these have been named overall in terms of the top 5 things. Then you can also go into, and then you can look at, for example, all the girls' names here in terms of overall list of things. So here I have Margaret in terms of the overall name here, and then Mary, Elizabeth, and then like I was looking at Sarah in terms of there has been a huge spike here in 1986. And I didn't know what was the reason for this huge spike. And I went and started researching, is there any correlation with this? And then I found one reference in terms of there was a prince who was marrying Sarah in UK on July 23rd, 1986. That could be a correlation that people learned about this and then started naming here. So here you can also look at it in terms of deselecting this here, and you can look at if you want the more recent ones in terms of what are the various names which are more relevant here. This looks like this is Jack. More recently, people have been naming Jack, Oliver, different names overall. So this is a very, very quick way in terms of creating a report. This took me like around 20 minutes to create last night. All out-of-the-box visuals, very simple to analyze this. Now, you can think of this as taking this report, and we have one of the features where making it publicly available. Anyone who knows what is a report, how do you make a report publicly available to everyone? What feature do you use? Publish to web, right? You can actually take this report, put it on app.powerbi.com, get a link where you can actually take this report and publish this directly on the web. And we're going to try to see in terms of, obviously, once you publish this onto the web, we can easily have everyone go and interact with this. This is one of the features. But in terms of democratizing overall BI, we want to make it much more simpler and easier overall. Now, how do I go about doing this? So one of the features which has been there in Power BI is Q&A, where you are going and searching in Bing or Google, you're going and searching on various things. Similar to this, you go and ask questions using natural language directly on the Power BI service. So this is currently, you do need to have Power BI service and being able to do this. So one of the features which was recently released, now you can just share from there. So we're going to do this directly to avoid here. You can share your screen and I can present here. Now you can share your screen.
In case you guys are wondering what's going on, we don't have display board. Alright guys, so this conversation took place last night over Skype after I delivered 8-hour session. What you see on the screen is the amount of code that it actually took me to integrate Q&A in an app, and we're going to go really fast. So I'm going to launch Microsoft Edge. This new feature, you can embed Q&A now in any application. Think about the potential for bar games and everything else when it's raining outside here in Oakland, like it was doing the last 3 days. And we're connecting to our data center in Redmond. This is, as you can see, not Power BI, it's my custom app. I have all data sets in here, and the one that Siva gave me last night is explicitly called NZ baby names. I'm going in. I checked latency for the people that like to geek out over here. 250 millisecond delay. If you set up your tenant in New Zealand, it would be at around 50 milliseconds. So what I'm trying to say is going to go much faster. So let's ask a question then. Show total babies. Okay, there were 4 million. Let's make it interesting. Let's go by year. Okay, 4. Sarah. You see that same spike? And let's compare it to Mary. And you can see with a couple clicks in your own custom application, you just hooked into Power BI. But imagine if it was a website. Now that thing just became fully interactive.
So this is just a quick preview in terms of like how you can make sure making data accessible to anyone in your organization or making it publicly available. And as and when people are more familiar with natural questions and using Q&A, you can make it completely accessible for everyone. And very, very easy. And like he coded this in like 5 minutes last night. And he also has a session. If you have more questions, we can cover this. Okay. Right. With this, we're just going to wrap up in terms of the keynote. Thank you again for joining today, and then look forward to seeing you in various sessions today. Right.
So we have morning tea available just in the hallway exhibition area, and sessions will start at 10, let's say 5 past 10. We have 5 session rooms, 4 here, 1 in Chris. See you there.